Yeah, I think we can start now. So, welcome,
Okay,
Shomikwan.
thank you
Today,
very much for having me here, Progga.
yeah, so today we have with us Shomikwan, who has been my friend, who is my friend from IIT Bombay, and he'll be sharing his experiences of PhD life, especially for our academic and research students in the academia and research group. So, Shomikwan, just introduce yourself a bit.
Hi, so I am Shomikhan. I started doing my bachelor's in chemistry in the University of Mumbai, although I'm from Kolkata. But then I later on did my master's from IIT Bombay in chemistry, and that is when like Progga and I we were in the same time frame more or less. She was doing geology and I was doing chemistry. And then later on, after that, I moved on to Germany for a PhD and still continuing here in the third year of my PhD now at TU Braunschweig.
Okay, okay. So that will do. So basically, I will start with the GRE, TOEFL, and IELTS examination questions. So first, I will ask that is GRE still valid, and what exams did you write amongst these three, GRE, TOEFL, and IELTS for UK, and also what exams should one give for US?
Right. So um, there are three exams, as you said, largely that GRE, TOEFL, and IELTS. Now the thing is that GRE was a thing when we were almost doing our masters, so in 2020 or even before that. But when I was doing that and when my batchmates started writing these tests, I had heard that kind of GRE was being waived off in most of the institutes, right? So the score was not being accepted as much because it's a more rigorous exam. Also costs a bit more if you want to write the test. So it's more like if you have the experience of writing CAT or many of these banking exams, it has something like that kind of a thing. It has a bit of mathematics, a bit of English, and everything. But mainly, if you are going to the English speaking world, that includes UK, Canada, and US, Australia, whatever. I don't know what is the prospects in Australia and New Zealand, but yeah, mainly speaking about the Western English speaking countries. In these places, you will have to write this test, uh, any one of them, to get accepted in the university. Um, I have heard that mostly IELTS is being accepted in Canada for a PhD, but largely I would say the major chunk of people they mainly write this exam called TOEFL, which is relatively easy to access. I would say. I think back in the days when I was a student of IIT Bombay, then my batchmates were writing this exam for something like a 15,000 rupees or something like this. That was the one-time entry fee for this exam. And this is a 120 mark exam, all in English. So there will be four sections, I think speaking, reading, writing, and listening, just like any basic language course. And you have to score to get admission into a decent US university. You need to get something like, let's say, 90 plus. A score of 100 plus is a safe zone. So you can apply to most of the colleges. Right. Um, Apart from this, IELTS, I haven't heard much anyone write it. And the score of TOEFL probably remains valid for the next 2 years or something like this. So you can use your score the next time you apply. That is what I have heard. I might be wrong as well. Now the thing is that I would honestly accept that these exams are not my forte at this point because I have never written these tests. I have only seen my friends write these tests because I always plan to come to Europe. And when you're in a non-English speaking country, these kinds of tests do not really hold a place, right? Because here in Germany, people are speaking German all around. So it's like if you're working in Kolkata in an office, your work is in English, but people around are talking in German, or in Bangla, right? Even if you're working in a bank. So that's the same scenario here. Your colleagues will be talking to themselves within German. The people in your institute will be talking in German, and you have to do your work in English. That's it. So that's how it works. Um, Now, okay, I think that we can move to the next question, right? Or have I answered?
Yeah,
Fine.
it's pretty much answered. I'll be talking to. I have two more questions from your like conversation. So, first is since you have said German people are there, like German speaking. So it's a Germany. So basically, so you need to know German, even a little bit of German. Have you studied? or started studying
Yeah,
German?
I do speak, I can read and write in German. Maybe my conversation is not that good.
Yeah.
But the thing is that this is very much depending upon like where you are. So for example, when I started my PhD, I joined in this institute called RWTH Aachen,
Hmm.
right? So there are these famous institutes all over Germany, like the way we have IITs. In the
Hmm.
similar way in Germany, we have
Yeah.
RWTH Aachen, TU Munich, TU Berlin, these kinds of institutes.
Yeah.
So these places are pretty international.
Hmm.
So here you don't really need to know much German. But then my boss moved from TU RWTH Aachen to TU Braunschweig, and then we also had to move. So when you come to a relatively smaller university, then you have this thing that you need to learn a bit of German. But otherwise, it's totally fine. In the university campus, people mostly speak English. It's totally fine.
Okay. Okay. So, language needing like needing to know a foreign language is not that necessary. If
Yeah, there are some drawbacks. I would say that if someone is going to France, then it's a bit of a problem. They don't speak English there.
okay, France is
Yeah,
difficult. Okay. Acha.
yeah.
Now, the second question will be for if TOEFL and IELTS is the most accepted. IELTS, I think it's for UK and TOEFL is everywhere, right? If I'm correct me if I'm wrong.
TOEFL is accepted everywhere. IELTS is mainly for Canada.
IELTS is for Canada. Okay. Now, how to prepare? Like, what mock tests are there? Do you have any idea about the TOEFL mock tests?
So you will find some free sources online where you can download the sample papers of TOEFL.
Hmm.
There are some books. So mainly when I was a student, then like all my batchmates, they used to have like one set of books and we used to share and kind of read them. So probably it was bought by some senior. It was a second-hand book, and then it went on throughout the.
Yeah,
You know how it works in the
yeah,
IITs, right?
absolutely.
Your
It
peer group is
passes on.
very strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is how it works. I think you can download the free PDF versions online. Maybe I'm not very sure. Just have a look on LibGen. Maybe you will find something. Um, then you can have a look on YouTube. There are several tutors offering courses for free. You can always track that. Apart from that, I don't think it's a problem because I mean we Indians we are good at speaking English. At least our bachelor's degree is in English. So
Hmm.
anyway, we kind of so even if you are like super bad at English, let's say considering that the threshold you are super bad, even then you will score something like a 70 or an 80 marks out of 120. Getting to that 105 or 110, okay, that requires practice, but otherwise it's fine.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we will move to the next question now. I'll be asking about SOP, statement of purpose. So you will telling what is statement of purpose and how to write a good statement of purpose.
Right. So this statement of purpose thing, this is so when I was applying, I had largely seen that this is accepted in the US and UK. Largely, I never had to write an SOP for Germany. And the statement of purpose, this is something like you can write it up to 2 pages, so 2 Word pages, MS Word pages at most. Don't go more than that. And this is where you have to kind of describe that the way you have been influenced by science. So it's a statement of purpose that why do you want to follow your passion in academia? So you have to basically convince someone. Someone is reading your SOP, right? So you have to kind of convince people by saying that yes, these are the points from my childhood which have motivated me to come to this particular point. I have achieved these things and this is what I want to perform in the future. These are my visions. I want to see myself here in 5 years or something. um, Kind of try to write something in a very professional manner like this. That's all I can say.
Okay, cool. That will do. It's a very personal touch. I think the personal touch makes it much more genuine, right? In for
Exactly, you have to be
yeah,
as
you have
honest
to
as
be as
possible. Don't
honest
try
as
to copy it from someone else, or don't try to like nowadays people are using ChatGPT to write it. Don't do that because it can be traced easily.
yeah. So, second one, the third, I will be going to cover letters. What are cover letters, and what are they used for? How to write?
Okay, so yeah, now the cover letter is basically you don't really have to write a cover letter in a separate format. So it is basically the body of the email that you are sending to a faculty or a professor abroad, right?
Hmm.
If you are applying to the United States or Canada, so okay, so before going into this topic, I have to give you one basic insight.
Yeah.
So in the English speaking world, UK, Canada, and the US, in these places, the process of PhD is much like India. So where you are considered as a student, right? So you apply to the university portal.
Hmm.
But in mainland Europe, like in Germany, France, Netherlands, Denmark, wherever else
Hmm.
in Europe, PhD is a job. So for example, I am here on a job visa. I have a working visa. I pay taxes.
Hmm.
So in the US, people are also paying taxes, but that is a part of their student deductions that they have to pay to the university. I don't pay any money to the university because I'm an employee here. So because of this reason, in Europe, your cover letter is going to be something like your employment letter. So just think of it like your job.
Okay.
Okay. So mainly you will get to know about your job openings from Twitter. That is a big place where professors are usually advertising their positions. Um, then there are websites called findaphd.com, and usually you can keep on checking on the websites of the universities. They will
Yeah, we
always
will
have a
come to that.
portal there
How
where you
to
can.
find the PhDs? Yeah, we will come to
Yeah,
that point. So I think like
exactly.
cover
So
letters are very important considering Europe.
that is the first thing that people will read about.
First thing, so it's the first impression, the cover letter. So that is very important. How does this like look like? It's basically an email, right?
It is basically an email where you have to introduce yourself,
Hmm.
and then you write that, okay, I am currently doing MSc here. I am working with this and this professor. I am doing my master's thesis here. I'm doing my internship with this guy. And then you describe a little bit in 1 or 2 sentences because it's a cover letter, it's not your CV.
Hmm.
So you write a little bit, 1 or 2 sentences about the work that you are doing currently.
Hmm.
And then when you are done with that, then you go to the second paragraph and you write that what you like about this person you are applying to. So what about their research? So that has to be very important. Don't write a vague letter which they will read like, okay, this guy is just changing names and sending it to everyone.
Okay. Okay. So now the question will be like, are when we are mailing the professors, so are we mailing them the cover letters?
Yes, you will. So in the email, the body of the email will be your cover letter, and you will attach your CV and your. I think what I used to send was my MSc manual, MSc mark. What was the thing called? Transcript.
Transcript.
Yeah. Yes, which had all your marks and everything in there. So that is
Yeah,
kind of
basically,
a
I have to tell
kind of
here
a
that IIT, all IITs, or the mark sheet in itself is a transcript. But if you are reading in any university, then you have to apply for a transcript, and that takes some part of time, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
for
I
IITs,
think
yeah,
if
that
you
is
want to
a
apply
different.
initially, you can apply with your MSc mark sheets also. Like you don't have to get a transcript, but this kind of thing kind of proves that okay, you are from a genuine university. It's not a fake email,
Hmm.
right?
Okay. Okay, so now I'll be asking about LORs, the letter of recommendations. How many LORs are needed, and from whom to get the LORs? Uh, all of these things.
So for the US, you need 3 LORs. One is your master's thesis supervisor. That is important, of course, because he's the first point of contact. Second is that you can talk to 2 other professors in your department with whom you might have done an internship, or maybe you have attended a course, taken a course from this person or something. If you're applying to if you're applying to the European Union, then you do not need 3 letter of recommendations. You just need one because it's a job. So it's like your master's internship was your previous job. You are applying to another job. You need the recommendation of your previous boss to the new boss. So that's all. That's how it works.
Oh,
And make sure that this person who is recommending you is a relatively well-known person in the academic sphere. Otherwise, I mean, let's get it very honest. If everything boils down to this letter of recommendation, doesn't matter how good you are, how many marks you have scored or whatever. So if your master's thesis supervisor or your internship supervisor is a popular guy, then you will crack all the cases. That's it.
okay. So letter of recommendation is a big thing then.
It is a
Absolutely.
big thing because I will tell you also one more thing
Hmm.
is that academia in general works on contacts. It is a area of favoritism. So if I like you, I will take your student. If I don't like you, I won't take your student. As simple as
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. totally understand. Okay, now I'll be going to the question of transcripts. Now I have, and I will be actually addressing this question because if you know, you can also, like I have said, our MSc mark sheets are the transcripts in all of the IITs. I think it is same for ISERs and NITs, right? Do you know?
I guess for the premier institutes, it is the
Yeah,
same.
for all the premium institutes is for the same, but if you are in any university, so for the university you need to apply it. Like for Jadavpur University, it takes some around 15 days to finally get the transcript, and you have to pay money for that.
So I had to go through that process as well, because
Okay.
when I got accepted for a PhD position, then my supervisor asked me that you have to send your transcripts from your university to the new university.
Yeah.
So this transcript was from my bachelor's university, and they again took 15 days and charged me like 1,000 rupees to get the
Ah,
transcripts out.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is the process of getting that transcript. Okay. So I'll be going to the next question. Next question will be okay, I'll be going to my student now. Better that that is better. So Shoujo, if you have any doubt till now, you can unmute yourself or you can write it in the chat box. Shoujo, you have any question? Okay. What about PhD in Japan?
I literally have no idea. I don't know anyone who has went for a PhD there.
I think they PhD in Japan geoscience. I'll be telling you that there is one a scholarship exam. If I'm not wrong, JAXPA, something like that. I will check and then I'll get back. But this is a different scholar, and this scholarship exams are also there, like everywhere, and that will be, I think, the next point. Also, the scholarship exams. So we have DAD, right, for Germany, DAD
Yeah.
scholarship. Yeah. So let's talk about the scholarships, all the scholarships, whatever scholarships are available, and whatever you know about.
So this that fellowship is one thing. Um, so the thing is that if you have to get a DART fellowship, then I would say that I would recommend that if you can do an internship in IIT Kharagpur, it will be very useful for you. Um,
Why
because
IIT
IIT
Kharagpur?
Kharagpur has because some of the IITs have very good connections with some like German authorities. So for example, IIT Kharagpur has a very good tie-up with this DART entire thing. So
Okay.
for example, the number of people that I have seen who have come here through DART are mainly from IIT Kharagpur. So that kind of helps. I know three people and three of them are from Kharagpur.
Okay, okay. This was very
Yeah,
important, crucial information that every institute has got its own forte. If we even say like IIT Bombay has got the forte for oil and gas sectors, IIT Kharagpur has got the forte for the research sector. IIT the I think it's more about the intellectual Bengali mentality as well in the eastern sides, and like IIT Kharagpur being ruled by a lot of Bengalis. Yeah.
indeed, yes.
Yeah. So, any other scholarship? Do you know about any other scholarships apart from DAD?
Apart from that, there is probably not anything else that you can apply for. There is something else which is this Marie Curie Fellowship, right?
Okay.
But Marie Curie Fellowships are mainly working for interdisciplinary areas. So again, you have to kind of make sure that you are in this.
Eligible.
And again, Marie Curie is largely for like core basic sciences. So I haven't heard anyone from like geology who has gone into Marie Curie. But you
Core
can
basic.
definitely have a look.
I think in core basic sciences we do fall under core basic sciences. But I still do not know. I mean, like BSc core basic sciences. Are they talking about that? That I have to check
No,
then.
I mean, again, I'm not saying that
Yeah.
geology is anything out of it, but the thing is that I have mainly seen people from like physics, maths, and chemistry get these things.
Yeah.
And that also people who are working in the interface. For example, if you're doing materials chemistry, if you're doing something like rubber technology, then you will get these kinds of things.
Absolutely.
And
Okay.
the pay is very good for Marie Curie.
Can you just tell me how much it is?
I think this pays you something around a bit more than 2,000 euros a month, maybe.
Okay, okay, 2000
But
euros. So I
yeah,
think
but that is very less. I would not recommend anyone to if you are like very much motivated to work, and if you say that okay, I want to work with that, then it's okay. But I don't think the payment of that is too much.
okay, noted. Acha. Then I'll be talking about currencies. See, every or like state, if you go to states, it's approximately 86 or 88 around that, and if you go to ETH Zurich, Switzerland, then you are
Mhm.
getting it in franc. If you are in other places like Germany or other places of Europe, you get it in euro. If you are in Japan, you get it in yen. Now yen is kind of similar to the INR. Now, should you or should anyone keep the currency in mind while choosing their PhD topic and project and everything? Professor, place, the place, the currency should it be in the mind? That's the question.
The currency should be in the mind. However, you should also like think about this thing that it's better to talk to someone who is already in that place, because it is not the currency that is important. It is how much you are making and how much is your disposable income, how much you can spend.
Mm,
That's a big thing. For example, uh, I interviewed for a position in Poland, and although Poland is in the European Union, but still Poland is a relatively poor country, so they don't work on euros. They are mainly playing something in zloty. They call it PLZ. That is the three-letter abbreviation for their currency. And zloty is something like, I remember that they were paying me something like 35,000 or 40,000 rupees, which is same as like our Indian
India,
CSIR net
yeah,
fellowship kind of a thing. It's not very
absolutely.
different. But the thing is, surviving in Poland with 35,000 rupees a month is not good, right?
That's the thing.
So So that's the thing. Yeah, you should keep that in mind. Also, like nowadays in the UK, it is a bit harder to survive because inflation is too much. So although your PhD salary will be okay, but even then, like flat costs a lot. Accommodation is a
Yeah.
thing there.
So I think from all the talks, previous talks, and this talk as well, I think for geology, it is better that people go to America. States is always the safer side. Also, considering the fact that a lot of places in Germany and other places of Europe are closing down because of there is like you talked about inflation. There is some sort of problem in financial side in Europe. Is that so?
Yes, there is a problem, um, but I haven't seen any significant effects on research as such. Yes, in terms of jobs, there is a problem. I have heard people talk about it. It's a bit harder to find jobs now
Mm,
because of they have still not recovered from the COVID pandemic, and also because of the war that is going on in Ukraine, it's a bit hard for them to catch
absolutely.
up with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I think that it's okay if you want to apply here. It's totally fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Then you tell me. I'm forgetting the questions. What questions are? Oh, interview. Let's ask about the interview. So you, how was the interview when you like mailed the professor and the professor reverted back and gave a date for an interview? So how the interview went and how did you prepare for the interview?
So the first thing is that when you send an email to a professor, then if they do not reply you within 2 weeks, then it is good to send them a reminder that is kind of also kind of strengthens your interest that yes, this guy is interested in like pursuing a PhD in this guy's group. um, Once that is done, if the professor is interested, he will reply. And he so what internally what happens that you will not get to know is that now this professor, if he's interested in you, then he will send a personal email to your supervisor and ask for a letter of recommendation. So that is a process that you will not be involved in. But usually our Indian professors will let us know that okay, this particular professor has asked me for your letter of recommendation. So is this a legitimate thing? Is this a real thing, or is it a because there is always a case of like fake issues happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of an internal cross check. Once that is done, and if the person you have applied to is happy with your letter of recommendation, that the that your previous supervisor has sent to this new person. Then he will probably call you for an interview. Probably mostly I've seen that happen through Zoom.
mm,
So Zoom or Skype.
mm.
Skype maybe not that much, but largely Zoom
Zoom.
interviews. Um, and then in this interview, they will first you will have to start with a 15-minute presentation, 15 to 20-minute presentation of your work.
Mm,
So the master's thesis work that you have done.
mm.
So make sure that you make a good presentation out of that. And you should know every inch of your work. That is most important.
Absolutely.
Because I can give you one insight here that the Western way of teaching is very different from the Indian way. Because our Indian way is that you have to write a competitive exam if you are doing geology. I don't know much about geology, but I can talk about chemistry. That if you have to do chemistry, you have to read theoretical chemistry, inorganic, organic,
Everything.
everything, and you need to write a test.
Mm,
Right. But here that is not the case. I have seen that most of my German colleagues, if you ask them about quantum chemistry, they don't know much about it. However, they have the complete knowledge about the stuff that they are doing.
mm. Absolutely. This
And
is pretty much similar in geology as well. The geology scenario in India, abroad, absolutely same condition.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So probably if you are going for an interview, they will probably not ask you too many things about your basic knowledge. Maybe you are a great person with your fundamentals, but
Mm,
it is not something that would be asked. You would be rather more, they would be inclined to ask you more about the master's internship that you have done.
mm.
So
Good.
mainly you have to, if you're proposing something new, then you have to back up it with the proper evidence, something like this.
Got it. Acha. So, tell me now about the fall session and the spring session. Which session to apply for, and when to start looking for the projects?
Okay, so if you are applying in the US, then you should write your this TOEFL or GRE sometime in August or September, I would say.
Mm,
That's the best time. And then you start applying from the month of October. That is when I think they start opening their portals for
mm.
a PhD application. And this portal closes by the first week of December, right? So you have to make sure that you apply before the first week of December. And then next year in February, you will start getting your offer letters,
Okay. Is it same for
right?
like first week of December is same for the for all institutes?
Yes, this is mainly for the autumn. What do you call it? The fall intake, basically.
Okay. Okay.
So if you apply in this December, then the next August you will be getting accepted.
Did you apply for any of the Ivy Leagues?
No,
Ivy League?
I never applied in the English speaking world.
Never. Okay. So
Yeah,
I
and for Europe, if you want to apply in Europe, then you have to start applying in April, I would say. So now is the best time because if you start applying now, the bunch of applications will start coming up in June, July, and then
ha
everything will be finalized pretty quickly, and you will get a position sometime in October.
ha. So this is the correct time for mailing.
This is the perfect time for emailing now.
Okay. Acha. Tell me more about how to find a funded project. Like
Most of the projects will be funded.
most of
Most
the
of them will
projects.
be funded.
And how is
Yeah,
this
if they don't
possible?
have funds,
Ah.
they won't even entertain your email.
Oh. Is that the thing?
Yeah. There are some professors, if they're super interested in your profile and then they don't have money, they will ask you to wait probably.
Okay, cool.
But otherwise, most of the positions are funded. I mean,
Oh.
why would you rather apply for an unfunded position?
No, I mean like how to know that this is not a scam or this is not an
Oh,
unfunded
no,
thing
no, no, no. I mean, see, again, for doing that, you need to do your background research about the kind of person you are applying to.
kind of
If
person.
it's a genuine person in your area, then it's totally fine.
Absolutely fine. Okay. Um, is it possible to change guides abroad like it's done in India as
In
well?
the USA or in the English speaking world, yes, because there you are, as I said, that the university considers you as a student.
Hmm.
So basically, you are a student of the university. You are paying monthly fees. So there you can shift your labs, but not in Europe.
In Europe, you are doing it more like a job.
Yeah, it's a job.
It's a
You
job.
are so basically the position that you will get. So The first day I got my visa, on it it was written Wissenschaftlicher Mitarbeiter, which means scientific employee.
Okay, okay. And
Yeah,
is it possible to extend the visa in Europe?
it is possible. So basically, the duration of your visa will be as long as your work contract lasts. So if your professor gives you an extension, then your visa will be extended.
Okay, visa is not really an issue then, especially in Europe.
I haven't heard anything as such yet.
Yet. And if you think about settling down in Europe, is it how much is it possible and how to do that? Settling down in Europe.
Settling down, which means that again the language is the thing. So if you know the language, then it's good.
A person who knows a foreign language and has the idea of settling down in any of the countries, European countries, then the person, how, like I will be talking about asking about the visa. How long is the like how to get that citizenship card, like we have green
So
card in US.
the thing is that citizenship is a long thing. It's a long process. It takes, so even let's say, let's talk about Netherlands or Germany. So where getting a citizenship is not impossible like in the US. So here it will take you 8 years to get a citizenship. So from the day you come in, you have to wait for 8 years. Now, again, most of the Indians here don't have a citizenship. They mainly have something called a permanent residence. So that means that you are still an Indian citizen, but you have the permission to live here for the rest of your life.
Okay,
It doesn't matter if you are employed or unemployed.
that is nice.
And getting this done is possible. I know several postdocs here who have done this.
Okay, now I'll be going to the question of postdocs and industry. So, how to know that, like, how to make the choice whether you want to join industry after your PhD, whether you want to go for a postdoc, or whether you want to settle down in any of the like mediocre colleges in abroad.
Right. So I can give you a realistic view of the thing is that many of the people who are applying for PhDs abroad, let's talk about the sphere which comes from the eastern part of our country. Everyone wants to be a professor for some reason. I don't know why. But again, talking realistically, I don't want to demotivate anyone. But first thing you should keep in mind is that am I getting good publications in my PhD, right? Like, let's say you are doing a PhD for 3 years. I don't know how much, like, because in different fields, getting a publication is different. It's a different ball game everywhere. So how do you? So I'm going to ask you that how many papers do you think it's needed for a good PhD in geology?
I don't know. I mean, like for IITs, you need to have four in Q1. Uh, if you want to apply for IIT, and then there are conference papers separately, so that is also different. So like publication and then conference papers. I think this is it.
Right. So let's say that when you are doing your PhD, then you do not get as many good papers.
Hmm.
Then there is no point in living under a rock and thinking that you will cut it in academia, right? Because if you have good papers in your PhD, then you have the opportunity to apply for a good postdoc, right? And a postdoc with someone influential, not just a random guy, right? And then also becoming that person's favorite dude and publishing good stuff from there.
Okay.
So
What
that
is
is how
this?
the ball game works. I
Eh,
don't know. I think if you do this, then somehow it kind of pops up there.
anyway, it's not in my laptop. Anyway, well, that was a pretty good information for settling down. I would be asking about now. You tell me what? How do you like cope up? Is a culture shock? Did you receive any culture shock or
Yeah, I mean, it's everywhere around. It's a different place, right?
every like wherever you see it's clean, so clean? How is it so clean? Tidy
Um,
places.
yeah, I think it's relatively well maintained. So So the basic things are very well sorted out. For example, you don't have to worry about things like what will happen if I fall sick. Like the healthcare is absolutely fine. Once you pay for the health insurance,
Yeah.
if you have any random health issue, you just land up in the emergency department of a hospital and everything will be taken care of.
Hmm.
So that's one good thing. You don't have to worry about any adulteration in your food. That's totally fine. Then if you are someone who is like, you know, very conscious about your diet, then you will like find that every food has exactly the amount of calories, the carbohydrates, protein, everything is written in your food. There is nothing called unpackaged food here,
Okay.
apart from fresh vegetables and stuff. Like even if you are going to buy something like a chicken or fish, even then the nutrient content will be written on that.
Which is a very good thing.
It is,
Labeling.
which is which is very good. Um, but apart from that, what mainly I think Indians miss here is this that people are not as vibrant as you see in India.
Hmm.
So it is not a very happening place. If you go out on the street now, it's totally empty. There is no one there.
Hmm. Yeah, that's it.
Right.
That is it. Um, how about I'm running out of questions because I have done so many of these interactive sessions now. People have answered most of the questions, and since you are from a different background, I cannot ask you about your research, which is does not align with our interests. But still, I'll be asking about interdisciplinary things and how much is interdisciplinary like idea. I think that ideation of going interdisciplinary, it's prevalent outside. And how does it happen? Suppose you want to work with some maths guy or you want to work with a geologist. How would you approach? Is it really a very established pathway?
Um, so if you have to get something like that done, then first of all you have to. So it is all your background research that
Hmm.
the let's say you have come here for a PhD and your supervisor kind of works in the core area of geology. Then so because you are working with this guy and you will be doing the projects that this guy is giving you, it's not that you will randomly come up with something.
Hmm.
So you have to choose like someone who collaborates with a lot of different people
Hmm.
and who gives you the space to collaborate. If yes, then for sure, then you can go ahead, you can start emailing people, you can ask around. It is totally fine. And also the best thing about here in Europe is that everyone is very approachable. You just send an email, you send that yes, I want to, collaborate or something like this.
Hmm.
Then you will have a meeting and you decide what you want to do. It's
Cool.
it's
It's
it's easy to
absolutely,
collaborate.
yeah. This open mindedness is quite important, which is actually lacking. I find the Indian education system a little bit toxic. I am saying it here, but I it's true because they have the very parochial mindset, very narrow mindset, and orthodox way of doing things, which actually hinders the progress of science. And yeah, now I'll be again going back to Shorjo. If he has any more questions from this part of conversation of us, you can unmute or you can write it in the chat box. Why
Right.
go abroad when we have some premium institutes in India?
Right. It is totally your personal choice. It has nothing to do with why go abroad. It's not that everyone is obligated to go abroad to study, right?
But
If you
it's more
find
about the
someone good,
mindset. The mindset.
it is totally up to you because there's like so back in the days it was a problem that yes, many of the Indian professors were not really up to the mark, but nowadays there are some Indian labs which are one of the best in the world. You can definitely work there.
Absolutely. If it is available, if the project or if the paper that you want to work in is very well established in India, you have to see whether it is established in India or not, or where it is established well. So it is more about, say there are three person, people and place. So person, people, place, if these three things are there, then it's fine. you can do it in India. If it is in US, then go to US. If it is in UK, go to UK. That's how the thing works.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think we are nearly going, like, touching the time now, and it was a lovely session. I will be wrapping up. Thank you, Shomik Khan, for coming, and
Thank you very, very much.
I'd be really glad if we do these type of conversations in our future ahead as well, because these are quite helpful for the students who do not know and who are still, they are in the process of their career, whether they should go for this thing or not. To have a clarity, I think these type of talks should be there on YouTube, or we should conduct these things for our students as well. So thank you again.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's it. Tada.